Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Boss Rush Patreon pre-show. I am your host, Corey Deerigan. Alongside me is PK Power Pat Klein.
I'm number 2 today.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I threw everybody off. LaRon's not here. LaRon. I know.
You know, it was my intention to finally, jump over them and be on top.
You did it. Pat, you finally did it. You PK
2.
powered your way over the top. Yep. You overpowered the PC muscle race. That's what he gets for playing PC games. You know? Oh, my ROG ally. It's so cool.
Yep.
Hey, now, hold on a second.
If he doesn't say ROG ally 3 times in the podcast, it's not a good podcast.
Yep. Man. Good times. Pat, we have 2 special guests tonight.
We do.
We have Adam Gumbert from Respawn Aim Fire, a great podcast you should all go listen to. Adam, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. 3rd time's a charm, because I'm number 3 on the call list.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
Yeah. And by 3rd, that means your name's just next on the list.
Yup. Absolutely.
I'm happy you're here. I've been meaning to reach out to you for a while, and I was like, hey, now's the best time as any, right? So
get that promotion in, I suppose.
Yeah. I'm because you're doing the trivia thing with Jacob McCourt and Stephanie and friend of the show Asa Green River and Roger and Baron and all the people. So cool. I'm excited. I'm trying to get as many PAX people on before PAX as possible. So I'm trying to cram everybody in. But also here from Friday Night Gamecast is Nick Fakhoury. Nick, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Corey. I'm really happy to be here. I got the pleasure to actually meet Pat over at PAX East. And I think the whole Boss Rush podcast was super busy. So we didn't get the chance to shake hands personally. But Corey, we've talked offline before, and I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that I saw your message in the Discord server and I was able to jump in today.
Yeah. This is great. I'm glad you responded. I have this whole running list of people that I need to get on the show. And I mean, obviously we only do one show a week. So you just kind of check them off. But I'm glad you responded, because you've been on my list for a while. I think a couple months ago we talked and tried, we were talking about getting you on, and then here we are.
Yeah.
We finally did it.
Thank you for the short notice.
Yes. I always appreciate when I put something out in short notice and people respond. It makes me, I'm one of those people that, like, if we don't fill the chairs, we're done.
It's over.
It's over.
Then they're going to have to rely on me to talk. They don't want that.
I know.
I will
All
say,
I talk about is video games.
Yeah, all right. I will say, though, shout out for Nick for being here, because you get this because you have podcast guests and all this. When you see these names of, like, I recognize the podcast immediately, even though I've never spoken to Nick.
Yeah.
Which is like, I like that whole thing. We're like, oh, I know you from that. So that's just cool that we're randomly both here today. Love it.
Yeah, that feels great.
Isn't it cool? Isn't it cool to just all come together and be one cool podcast family? Do we say that? That's not cool anymore, is it?
Honestly, I feel so much camaraderie with all my podcasting friends, just in general. Like, half of the people that I've met in the indie gaming podcast space have just been, they're all just like a diaspora across the US, whether it's on the East Coast, up north. There's a lot of folks up north doing podcasts, a few folks in the Midwest. We first started the show, we had a friend of ours, Liv, who had started this podcast called Between Two Pods, and Liv had actually done a ton of work on the back end, and you guys probably are a member of it, of the co-op Discord server. And I met like 90% of the people that I have ever worked with in that same server. So it's cool. It is kind of like a little family. Once you get to know the folks here, the names just kind of swirl around the same circle.
Yeah, and it's always cool to be like, you know somebody, but then that person points you out to somebody else, and then you get to know them, and then I started following Adam because of Ed, right? And Nick, we met through Discord, but you were pointed our way by, I don't know, Roger maybe. somebody. So, but yeah, the point is like there's so many cool people out there that are doing things, and like I'm glad people are pointing each other out and trying to get their because I mean everybody has a podcast now, right? That's the big saying, and there's a lot of great podcasts out there that aren't getting seen, and so
100%.
it's awesome. Well, I'm glad you're both here. This is awesome. We have a great topic tonight, Pat. This is your topic.
That's right.
So you wanna lead us into this topic, Pat?
All right. Well, as you know, September is the start of video game season. It's a beautiful season, a wonderful time where all the big releases that we've been told within the last 2 months used
Epic
to be a
Mickey.
year, but Epic Mickey being kind of low on that list, but yes,
Lollipop Chainsaw re-popped, right? That's the one. That's what it's
that
called.
might not have even made my list.
All I know is that all these games come out like literally within 3 days of Zelda, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, guys. Zelda.
So the question is like, what do you do? Like, this is a marathon for gamers, so you don't typically just run a marathon. You have to get yourself prepped up. So what do you do to prep yourself up for gaming season? How do you know which ones to choose? Like, what order to go?
Well, Pat, I go to this little website called GameInformer.com/2024. Oh wait, it's gone now.
Typing it in now. Oh, well, there's nothing here.
Too soon.
Sad.
Don't worry, I have another
GameSpot
website
is still up though, for now.
Yeah, I have another website for release dates. So
you do? Oh, thank God.
We can use it for Metacritic next year.
Awesome. Well, we need to. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We don't have any more fixes here, do we? Oh my gosh. I can't believe it's August already, and it's almost September. Oh,
this year has flown by. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but like significantly.
Yes.
I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I was like, "Oh," and then like last year I was at PAX, and I was like, "Wait a minute, that was this year. I did that. That was a thing. It feels like a lifetime."
That was 6 months ago.
Isn't that wild?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, time is a flat circle.
Not a shout out to PAX for having PAX East on my wife's birthday and Mother's Day next year.
You just bring her with you, a little PAX birthday.
Yeah,
put her on the floor. Put her in there.
I'm sure someone who absolutely has no interest in video games would love to be there for 4 days.
Ooh, feels bad.
I'm sure Steph can point her to things to do.
Yeah, they can talk about 90 Day Fiance. It's fine. They'll be fine. Sorry, Pat. We went off the rails. Didn't mean to.
We totally did. That's kind of how this podcast goes.
No, we are totally structured and on point all the time.
All the time. every day.
I try. I kind of given up on that though.
Yeah.
But speaking of on point, your plan. How you doing?
Here's how I do it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's games coming out, obviously, and I have things that I'm in. So I don't really have a backlog because my thing is, if I wanted to play it, I would have played it.
Oof.
Once in a while, a thing will sneak in. They were like, "Oh, that's right. I need to probably go back and play that," but I don't like. Oh, there's 17 games. Oh, I'll try to play 10, and whatever happens, I don't do that. I'm like, what's the most interesting things to me? I will prioritize those to play those. And if something comes out of nowhere and it's like, oh, this one's really, really good, I'll add it to the list. So I think like not trying to overburden yourself and be like, this is actually what I'm going to care about, and then stick with that. And then if there's something extra, what is 1 or 2 extra things on top of that? Because you can get in I did this as a kid where I played so many games. I was playing like 6s and 7s on the regular because I just got through everything else. I'm like, this is actually pointless. I need to go to football practice. So I'm just like, what is actually interesting? And then what is really good outside of what I think is interesting? And you're gonna help yourself out in the long run. It's still a lot of work, but it'll be a lot easier if you don't say I have to play Mickey and Lollipop Chainsaw 2 and Zelda. If you're just like, I only care about Zelda, just only play Zelda. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I kind of just write out a list of the games that I'm interested in, and kind of like, okay, well, I'm prioritizing Zelda. It's always a priority. I know my kids are interested in Epic Mickey, so I will I also enjoyed Epic Mickey when it came out the first time, all those years ago on the Wii. It was one of the 5 Wii games I think I played and completed.
Yeah, first one's great.
Yeah.
So the one that coming out, is this like a remake or is this like a sequel?
It's a
to that?
remake of the first one.
Okay, got it.
It's the first time the first game's been in HD. Also, they're adding new mechanics, but also what gives me hope is Warren Spector's involved again, and he's kind of heading the remaster or remake. So
Nice. So kind of like a Luigi's Mansion 2 treatment, but potentially a little better.
yeah. I think what sucks though is like the digital pre-order. If you pre-order it digitally, you get 3 cool retro Mickey skins. But if you pre-order it physically, you don't get it. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
I honestly feel like physical pre-orders, unless you are like we've talked about before, like Corey, you seem like you're in your collecting bag just based purely on your background, right? But like unless you are in that very specific niche, physical pre-orders are like a scam because you get it after the date that it like drops on the digital front. So it's not like they ship it early to you for you to get early access. And then what if FedEx just takes your package or somebody you know what I mean? There's a lot of issues.
Yeah.
I have beef with physical pre-orders.
Yeah, unless it's like the NES World Championship thing. I wanted the gold card, so I pre-ordered it from Best Buy and just walked into the store and picked it up and took it home. But usually I will purchase the game physically through Best Buy's app and pick it up on the way home the day it comes out, and I'll be like, okay, I'm good, or like a week later, or in Ubisoft's case, 3 weeks later it'll be $10 somewhere. Yeah, I'm just kind of making a list. Star Wars Outlaws is high on my list too. Assassin's Creed, there's a bunch of indies, kind of lined up. So I'm kind of just going through that right now and making a list of the games that I'm interested in. I know I won't get to all of them, and the ones I don't get to, I'll maybe get to later or not. I've been saying I'm going to play Assassin's Creed Valhalla for 3 years now, and guess what? I haven't started it, and now the cool one is coming out, so guess I'm skipping it. But that's kind of where I'm at. Also, I got to leverage that budget against like my son's preschool and groceries, gas.
You got to pick and choose.
Yeah.
It's one of the advantages of being single. Expenses are only for myself.
I should try that next time.
Next year, just try it
in
out.
My next life.
In my next life. Just give it a trial run.
Yeah.
I think I can only echo what Adam and Corey have said thus far. Is like really, and this is kind of the thing about being in the podcast / content creation space specifically for video games, is that when you're doing something like this, I mean, you don't have to do anything really besides turn the microphone on and record, but like it would behoove you to document and categorize and track what you do, because I think somebody said this about like a lot of things, whether it was like working out or maybe playing sports, is that you never really get better at what you do unless you document how you're doing that thing, right? Same thing holds true for both podcasting and playing video games. And this can be something that folks do at home, regardless of whether or not they are in the content space. And it's just like, as they've both said before, I have a Nick's backlog spreadsheet that is categorized between what I have actively played, what I have that's like been shelved that I've played. I'm like Adam said, this is just not interesting. I'm not going to waste my time further on this. Or then I have like want to play versus like need to play. And then I have everything broken down from the genre, the date I started playing, the date I beat it. I like, it's like an aesthetic thing for me now to go in like Control X row and then Control V it onto the completed list or slide of my spreadsheet. So yeah, it's just tracking it and keeping count, and then just being cognizant of like being real about leveraging, how long to beat is you're going to be your best friend, right? If you are in this space, if you legitimately like want to prep, listen, we all have 9 to 5 jobs. Everybody is being dragged back into the office kicking and screaming by our corporate overlords, right? And so we're all in the space now. We're like, okay, this is our free time. These are the obligations that we have. And unless you want to live like, the Japanese girl who went viral for rotting inside of her house, you it would behoove yourself to try to, just to min max the time that you have allocated each day to what you're playing, and just sort your spreadsheet from what's the shortest, like fastest game that I can play that's on Xbox Game Pass versus what's going to be a 50-hour Assassin's Creed Shadows, or maybe potentially a 35-hour Astrobot, and kind of organize it that way.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Game Pass, because that kind of throws a wrench into the traditional way of like thinking about going to buy games, right? I mean, it has Ubisoft Plus, has EA Play, all these subscription services, PlayStation Plus, even to an extent. And sometimes you find interesting games there. Like Pat, I know you played Dungeons of Hindenburg. I discovered Death's Door through Game Pass, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I heard about Death's Door and how great it was, but I'm like, yeah, sure. Then I played it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then I went out and bought it for Switch. I played it on Game Pass and bought it on Switch. Sorry, Xbox. But there's always interesting games coming to Game Pass, whether they're older games or like Kinetsugami is like a really fascinating game from Capcom that I don't know. I mean, my thought is that the reason why it's on Game Pass is Xbox said, hey, we'll give you enough money to cover the funding of the entire game just in case this game doesn't sell. And turns out it sold pretty well. But, there's games like that. And it's just buying games and preparing for playing games is way different than even 10 years ago. Or, when I was younger and walked into like a Babbage's and was like really excited to go pick out the one game I was going to play for 2 months or 3 months or until Christmas. And it's just different. And the way my kids interact with games is different. And look, last weekend, I'm telling you, I was not planning on playing 3 hours of Paw Patrol Mighty Pup Save Adventure Bay, but here we are 700 achievement points later. And
holy smokes.
Totally worth it.
Yeah. And I think, like, to your point, the whole, not to drag this conversation out, but like the Xbox Game Pass thing has, opened up people's it's unfortunately impacted people's backlogs, because they're looking at these games that are available through the service and they're like, well, I have access to it. I guess that should be on my backlog, because everybody in my circle says that, Neon White or Still Wakes the Deep are like S tier games for their respective genres, right? So it's the kind of like that double-edged sword that you have to just prioritize what's exactly, like we said before, important to you.
Yeah, and now like they have these deals for all these multiplayer games, like Valorant's there now, and whether it's good on console or not, I didn't play it, so I can't tell you if it's good on console or not.
It is.
I assumed it would be, and now that Xbox owns everything, like Overwatch and Call of Duty will be there now, and all these things.
Besides the good games, apparently, if you were to listen to the Pony audience on Twitter.
Yeah. But like also I'm playing Flintlock, right? And that's like a total 7, at best, when it's working. But I'm still playing it and having a good time. I mean, I have my complaints, but it's a game I probably would have never even thought of playing or purchasing without Game Pass.
Yeah, right. No, I think Game Pass is excellent in that regard. It makes me feel less guilty if I play a game and don't actually finish the game. Because I'm not really spending that much money on the game. But it gives me that opportunity to try it out. And be like, so this is what this is all about. Cool.
Yeah. What about you, Pat? How do you prepare for this season?
Completely opposite of Nick, actually. I am a very chaotic person when it comes to video games. I see it, I buy it, I will play, I will try to play as many of the releases as I can that week. And then within trying that, something will stick on me and I'll be like, okay, this is what I'm going to focus on until the next week. And then we go through the process again. And then whether or not something sticks or if I'm still playing that same game, it's come to see. But for me, it's definitely trying a lot of things. But
Mhm.
I will find those ones that will stick. Chances are Astrobot will be the first game this season that's going to stick to the point where I'm just gonna like pretty much focus on that and almost nothing else until it's beat.
Yeah. Astrobot looks so good. That's like the first game I'm excited for PlayStation in a long time.
Yeah, Team Asobi is just excellent, and you can already tell just from the gameplay trailers just the trailers in general that it's going to be 10 out of 10. It's going to be great.
I know, and like I feel so bad for Concord, but like,
do you though? Do
I
we
mean,
feel bad for it?
I mean, in a way, right? I mean, it's not even out yet, and people are just trashing it, right? I mean, it's just like I get that you don't like the aesthetic or the maybe the cutscenes or the characters kind of look generic or whatever, but I'm like, but what if the game actually plays well? Like, what if people end up liking it?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about it is that like I have never heard. I'm not, my ear isn't like super close to the ground on Concord specifically, but like everybody that I've heard talk about this game says that its biggest sin is the fact that it's mediocre. Like
Mhm.
it does cool things. It operates. It's functional. It sits squarely in the genre of an arena shooter, right? But it
Yeah.
doesn't do anything new or exceptional, or different, or like move the needle in the genre that's gonna draw an audience or get somebody on Twitter to play nothing but that for a month straight, right? Or
Yeah.
Twitch rather. Yeah.
There's no room for good games anymore, especially in the multiplayer space when you have games that last forever like Fortnite and Warzone and Apex, and I mean even stuff like Destiny and um, some of these other games that are out there. There's no room
Yeah.
for everybody has their game, right? You got to do something really special to like make them even look your way, let alone step away and play your game for good. So
Yeah. I mean, go ahead. Sorry, Pat.
I would say Concord's biggest problem is that everyone's like, oh yeah, it's fine, it's cool, but it's like, why would I spend $40 for something that's pretty good, but doesn't really stick to you, and there's probably not going to be a player base. The problem was at the exact same time everyone was getting into the Marvel Rivals open beta. It's like, oh, characters I care about in a game that is just as good or better than Concord, and it's going to be free. Why would I spend $40 for Concord? I would rather play Marvel Rivals.
Yeah, I mean,
It
like
was tough timing.
looking at like the P&L charts over at Sony, you would have to imagine that they're like, okay, we've spent enough time, we've spent enough labor and capital on this so far. It has to come out in 2024. But just as you said, Adam, this is a terrible, terrible year to try and compete with Marvel Rivals. And personally, I've seen Marvel Rivals, and as a casual Marvel fan, like I could care less about it. I haven't that being said, I haven't played it, so it's like I can't have that strong of an opinion about it. But at the same time, I'm just like, yeah, it's you have to think that like they have all of this funding. Sony has pumped so much money into it. The Firewalk Studio pedigree, people from like Call of Duty, people from Bungie, people from all of these like S rank first person shooter developers coming together. You think that they would put together something great, but it just didn't hit the mark, and I don't know if it will.
Yeah. Plus, like, I mean, Splitgate 2 it just got announced for next year. Like, I'm just like, where are these games coming from? Especially like Splitgate. Like Splitgate 1 was fine. They have an audience. Stop.
Yeah.
Um,
One thing that I
Of
will
course, you
say
got
is,
Call of Duty too coming out, and obviously
and it's on
a
Game
lot of
Pass.
people that are going to be playing Concord, but then when Call of Duty comes out, they're going to jump right in back to Call of Duty.
right.
Yeah. I mean, for every Helldivers, there's 10 Battleborns at this point, right? So
Yeah, and one thing I will say to the listeners, if you're very serious about trying to prepare for the super busy fall season, I know that 2023 was an insane year. It's like the difference between 2023 and 24 is that 23 had consistent, just like heavy hitters come out from January to December, whereas like 2024 has been so heavily backloaded with the things that are going to come out that I feel like personally have to play. But the real trick is like, do not play more than one game at a time, because if you spread your gaming out over multiple games, you're never going to finish anything in a timely manner.
Good.
Agree.
Good topic, Pat. I mean,
Thank
I know
you.
we kind of swerved into a different topic, but it was a good jumping off point. Oh, rip that show. Sorry, Ed. Well, that was the pre-show. Thank you. If you're listening to this, you are a patron, and we appreciate your $1 or above. Thank you. Now, I guess it's on to the main show. We'll see you on the main show. If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.